Chargers Dolphins, a big week. It has history behind it. We all know the famous playoff game. Who better to get than Armando Salguero, who it works at Outkick. He's covered the Dolphins for years. Now he's covering the NFL. But I wanted to get everything, so I invited him to jump on. Also, fellow Latino. So, Armando, how are you doing? And thank you for jumping on.
Oh, dude, it's my pleasure. It's really you obviously looked at a billion other people and then decided, let's get Armando to do it because
no, you're the guy. No, you're the guy. You're the godfather of the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. You look up in the dictionary and it says Armando Salguero has covered them for years. So
it's usually years ago it was Armando Salguero and then a bullseye.
Hey, I mean that's that you know how the business is. I mean, some people like you, some people hate you, but as long as you have as long as you can respect and you can sleep well at night, that's all that matters, to be honest. So but yeah, I just wanted to get you in and talk a little Dolphins. Like I said, I know you've been around the team for years, and I mean I gotta start here. I mean, last year Tua Tagovailoa suffers those two concussions that we know of. I mean, who knows what other things happened with him injury wise, but he's been taking tumbling classes. He's been doing stuff like that. How do you feel like that's going to help him? Do you feel like it's going to help him this season? And how do you think it's going to help? And how do you think it's going to help him?
Well, so we don't know for sure because you can't predict the future. He has done the natural thing, which is try to address it in the offseason. He is now a jiu-jitsu, not a master, but I think he's a blue belt or whatever it is. So he's taken jiu-jitsu. He has indeed been shown how to fall. He changed his helmet. He added weight, muscle, I assume, in the offseason.
You don't want to add the other thing.
Yeah, that's for sports writers.
Yeah.
So he added weight. The idea is, look, you got to protect yourself when you're falling. And most of his problems have been when he falls, his head oftentimes rebounds against the turf. And that's a bad way to do it. So he's been taught how to keep his neck elevated. And the hope is that he can stay healthy because, quite frankly, without him, the Miami Dolphins are not much of a football team as far as the playoffs and playoff contention is concerned.
Armando, I got to ask, because, I mean, it's not just on Tua. It's also on the offensive line. Teron Armstead, we all know, suffered that injury during training camp. As of right now, things aren't looking positive for him to go on Sunday. But how do you feel like Mike McDaniel has improved that offensive line? And obviously, how big of a blow would it be for this offense if Teron Armstead doesn't go?
Yeah, it's not just Armstead. I mean, the entire left side, Liam Eichenberg has been hurt, and he's the left guard. Teron Armstead obviously missed the preseason, and he's the left tackle. I mean, that's no bueno. When you're trying to protect your quarterback, offensive line chemistry, cohesion, and health are huge, and it's impossible for them to have cohesion and chemistry without the health, and they haven't had the health on the left side of that line.
And you kind of look at it, and that's what I've been saying. I mean, I understand he's doing the whole jiu-jitsu thing. It also rests on the offensive line. It rests on what the play calling is going to be. Like, especially if Teron Armstead and Liam aren't there this weekend, you can't have him hold on to the football because I'm just going to be honest, Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, they're not just going to place him down on the ground. They're two physical ends. They're two physical guys that are going to come after him. So that's kind of the big concern from my point of view, that it's not going to be, hey, we're just going to place you gently. Like, they're going to come out and they're going to hit and they're going to try and disrupt them. So how do you kind of feel like in that sense? Do you feel like he how do I want to put this? Do you feel like he might get a little fidgety, or in what way do you expect Tua to play this weekend, especially if Armstead and Liam aren't in there?
So I'm going to tell you something weird, Fernando. The 2 hits that he took last year, in which he got his concussions, his chronicled concussions, his official concussion, they weren't exactly hard. Oh my God, Sports Center type hits. They were generally just routine takedowns of a quarterback, one by a defensive back, no less. He had one against Green Bay, and it was on a defensive back blitz, and it was kind of, I don't want to say lame, but it was routine. It was unremarkable, the takedown. And so I don't understand what the situation was there. To be honest with you, the hit that he took prior to the Cincinnati game, which everybody saw on national television, when he went into, total concussion mode, and we all saw that scary picture. The week before that, or the Sunday before that, it was a Thursday game, Matt Milano pushed him. And so Tua, being a smaller quarterback, he fell backward. And exactly what he's trying to avoid this year happened that moment, where he falls back and his head snaps back onto the turf. None of those hits, none of them are kind of hits that you think, oh my gosh, this is disastrous. These are hits that quarterbacks get up from and move on from every single game day in the NFL. So it's hard to predict if and when someone actually gets a good lick on him, how he's going to react. I hope for his sake that it's well, because as we know, concussions are a different situation altogether. And he now has 2.
Yeah.
If he gets a third within the calendar frame of 1 year, we're not talking your day-to-day anymore. We're not talking you're in the protocol and we'll see you at the end of the week. We're talking weeks and weeks and weeks of, it's 3 concussions in a year. This is serious business.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And obviously health goes beyond, or health is first over anything else. But let me ask you now about Tua, the quarterback. I mean, Jalen Hurts has been paid. Justin Herbert has been paid. Joe Burrow is hopefully on the verge of getting paid. Who knows what Mike Brown's going to do up there? But and the Dolphins gave him his 5th-year option. How big of a year is this for Tua when it comes to terms of trying to get that big contract extension?
Well, the fact that Tua is one of the 2020, if not the only 2020 drafted quarterback that has not gotten an extension and will not get one, by the way. He's not getting one this season. They're going to wait until after the season. That goes back to his health, because the Dolphins want to see him get through a season. And I should say here that Tua has had previous injury and durability issues, not just in Miami, but at Alabama, his final year there with the hip. So you have a smallish quarterback who's shown to have a durability history. The Dolphins have decided, we're going to put the 5th-year option on you, but we're not going to necessarily right away commit 5 or 6 years to you. Let's play this by ear and see how this works. And that's doing the right thing. Also, the issue is, at the end of last year, for him, he had a bad West Coast trip. He played the Chargers and they figured that offense out.
Yeah.
He played the 49ers the week before and they figured the offense out. So it's not just a question of, can you stay healthy? It's, what's your chapter 2 to what you offered early in the season? What else do you have? Because now people seen from last year, from the Chargers included, have a book on you. So what can you do to adjust to the adjustments?
Yeah. Armando, you've been around the team, like I mentioned numerous times, for years. You've covered the NFL for years. What do you make of Mike McDaniel as a head coach? Yeah, your face.
Yeah, he is a different bird, man. He is just a different kind of dude. The first time that I met Mike McDaniel, he spent 10 minutes talking to me about my glasses. Like, my glasses. And I'm like, okay. That's not exactly what I expected. He doesn't look the part.
Yeah.
He when he speaks, he gets somewhere eventually, but he takes the roundabout, circuitous route, and you never know what he's gonna offer up next. But last year they went on like a 5-game losing streak, and I thought to myself, if there is ever a time when a coach would lose a team, it's this guy who doesn't look the part, is in his first year, has no experience, and it's a veteran, it's a veteran roster. And he didn't lose the team.
Yep.
He did not lose the locker room. They respect him. They really, really like him, and they play for him. So for all the foibles and the quirks, hey, the bottom line is the bottom line. They got in the playoffs last year. He got them there. I will say this. It was his first year. Dolphins history is replete with coaches who were successful their first year, and then it went off the table after that. So he's got something to prove still, because Adam Gase made the playoffs his first year.
Oh, yeah.
Tony Sparano made the playoffs his first year.
R.I.P.
Dave Wanstead made the playoffs and won the division his first year. But in their second, third, and fourth years, some of them didn't get to their fourth years. Yeah. After their first year, it got ugly.
And that's what I've been because folks ask me, has Brandon Staley lost the locker room? I'm like, no. If anything, it's made these guys stronger. They love him. They're all about him, and they all they're really excited about this year with Brandon Staley. So I think that speaks volumes. I mean, when players are detached from everything, you can tell. And for all the faults and all the negatives and positives of the Chargers the last few years, they're still behind him and they're still with him. So I think that speaks volumes, like you said, about Mike McDaniel, to be completely honest. But Vic Fangio now comes in, and obviously Brandon Staley's from his coaching tree, and he's supposed to fix that defense. He was with Bradley Chubb back with the Broncos. He gets Jalen Phillips, Christian Wilkes, Xavier Howard, Javon Holland. What do you expect from this defense this season? And I know they're missing Jalen Ramsey, and he probably won't be back until December. But what do you think about Vic Fangio taking over this defense?
Well, now that Jalen Ramsey is out for a while, Vic Fangio becomes the biggest acquisition of the offseason for the Miami Dolphins. In that now they are less predictable. They're not going to play man press every down. They're not going to zero blitz, 40% of the time on passing downs. They're going to try to create pressure other ways, including, as you mentioned, Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb, whose job is to create pass rush.
Yeah.
So you're going to see actually Jalen Phillips attack the pocket as opposed to drop into coverage, which, I don't know, man. That didn't always make a lot of sense to me, but obviously there's a reason they changed systems and coordinators. So Vic Fangio, he's been there, he's done that. Great defensive coordinator, and I expect them to be good on defense. There's no reason why they shouldn't. Obviously, not as good as if they had Jalen Ramsey on there. But Jalen Ramsey, by the way, he expects to come back in November. That's his timeline. The regular timeline is December.
Yeah.
He's saying November.
Well, Derwin James always told Jalen and Derwin are like big brother, little brother. Derwin told me, don't ever count Jalen out. Like if he says something, that means he's gonna do it. So that'll be interesting. But two more questions, Armando. One, what do you expect this weekend from this matchup?
Well, we sort of touched on it before. On offense, the Dolphins' offense has to have a response to the butt whipping that they got from the Chargers defense last year, right? They have to find answers where last year they left with a lot of questions. On defense, you got to deal with the big quarterback. I mean, Justin Herbert's pretty good.
I don't think you could tell that to Dolphins fans, though, from what I've seen on Twitter.
They've got this little thing going with, oh, we got to defend Tua because, obviously the Dolphins picked Tua one slot ahead of Justin Herbert, and Justin Herbert is so far been the better quarterback. So there's a movement called Tuanon where you can say nothing bad about Tua or you're going to get destroyed on social media. And so whatever. Look, the bottom line is it speaks on the field. I think they're 1-1 against each other. So we'll see which way that goes. And obviously I just mentioned that, and I'm one of those guys that doesn't believe wins and losses is a quarterback stat. It's a team stat.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I know that the media will make it Herbert against Tua, and it is what it is. Raise the billing, raise the hype. I'm fine with that.
Armando, last question for me, and it's not really Dolphins related, it's more Chargers. Antonio Gates becomes eligible for the Hall of Fame this year. What first it'd be a first ballot. What do you make of that? What do you think about Antonio's chances going into his first chance to become eligible for the Hall of Fame?
In my opinion, Antonio Gates is a Hall of Famer. I'm not sure that he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. People think, well, he's absolutely in the Hall of Fame. Absolutely. Well, yeah, okay. But you have to go through the process. And part of the process is if you get to the selection meeting and in front of the 50 selectors, of which I am one, you don't just decide on the player.
Yeah.
You decide on the player or the candidate versus the other guys, right? And so I'm not sure how he will stack up that day against the competition, because if you're going to tell me he absolutely needs to be in the Hall of Fame this year, you better be able to tell me who doesn't, because there's only so many spots. And if you're putting one in, you're taking somebody out. That's what people don't typically recognize. They tell you, oh, you messed up putting him in. Okay, so who is in that you want out? Tell me that, and then we can have a conversation.
Beautifully said, Armando. I feel like not a lot of people know about how this process goes, so I wanted you to explain it so that people understand, and that was great. And again, thank you so much for jumping on and talking a little Dolphins, previewing it. I needed to get the man, the myth, the legend on here to talk about this. So, Armando, thank you so much, and let everybody know where they can find you on social media and all your work.
Yeah, so I'm the senior NFL writer at Outkick.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Armando, Armando, Salguero, Salguero.
Thank you so much, Armando.